Today I want to talk about blood meal and bone meal, compare them a little bit, talk a little bit about why, when, where, how to use them. There's a lot of information out on the internet that is confusing or contradicting each other and so on, and I hope this will help you. So just as the name says, both the blood meal and the bone meal are obviously a product from processed animals. Now, if you want to think sustainable farming or gardening, ideally you want to come to the point where you don't have to import any fertilizer. Here on the farm, we process a lot of animals, mainly chickens, sometimes also cattle, and all that potential fertilizer inside those guts and all of that is taken off of our land. So in that sense, putting some blood meal or bone meal back onto the land is part of the process. Now, regulations and all of that are there, so we cannot take our own things, but you can buy this stuff, and it's actually a good organic fertilizer. Especially when you start up, you might have to supplement with this sometimes, and it really helps you when your ground is very much worn out. There are not enough nutrients, there's just a need of some extra nitrogen and phosphorus and all of that stuff. This stuff here might be a good alternative to some other fertilizers. So here I'm in our greenhouse where we grow bell pepper and we grow tomatoes, and I've talked about this a bunch. The covering here is a deep bedding where chickens have gone on, so there's a lot of organic matter here that the chickens have worked with, and the chicken manure was added to it, and you know that chicken manure is rich in phosphorus, for example. And this winter I didn't have the chickens go on here, just for a few weeks here in the spring, but I don't think that they added enough nutrients to this, so I am going to supplement today with some bone meal and some blood meal to give my plants both a kickstart and to give them a fertilizer that they can use slowly, gradually over the next few months. Ideally, I would have done this when I planted these plants and put these two fertilizers right with the plant in the hole. I didn't have this stuff and we live far away, and I didn't want to leave that day. The whole day would have been gone just to buy the stuff. What we're going to do today is we're going to take some water and mix these and just with the water get the fertilizer down to the root system of the plants. Now, these are slightly different. Blood meal is very rich in nitrogen, and the plant can and will use it very quickly. It releases the nitrogen very quickly. So if you, for example, have started wood chip gardening and you see that your plants are not doing so well, blood meal is a very good way of quickly adding nitrogen to your plants, which is one of the most important elements for your plants to grow. Bone meal, I know there's a lot of information out there that says that it releases nitrogen slower over a longer period of time, which might be true compared to blood meal, but still the plants will use the nitrogen fairly quick. The phosphorus in here, that's true, that will be released to the plant over a longer period of time, but these two make a great combination anyway, and I'm going to mix them and I'm going to add some to my plants. You can also buy blood meal in liquid form, but you can yourself use this powder and just thin it out with water. A lot of different information on there, on different packages even, for how many grams you should use per square meter. I don't know how that will translate into ounces and square feet and so on. You'll have to look at that, but there's a bunch of different information on there. For me, it's even different. Square meters is completely irrelevant in a sense, because I'm not gonna be fertilizing my walkways here in the greenhouse. I'm just gonna be fertilizing my plants. So we're gonna take this and actually just mix them together, and we're gonna give to each plant. Now in my situation here, it's okay if I give it a little too much, because I have so much organic matter and wood chips that can capture excess nitrogen and then release it later over time as well. You can go with an exact weight per plant here or something, but I'm just gonna actually see how much I have here, and it'll end up about, you know, a little handful mixed together per plant. I have 4 bags of each. I'm gonna mix them all together and give it to the plant. I'm gonna try to get a little bit of the bedding away because it is insulated. The plant is insulated about 20 to 30 centimeters by wood chips at some points, at some spots, and try to get a little bit of that away to get this closer to the roots, and then just water it. This will be the last time for me, hopefully, watering this greenhouse. We watered once when we planted. We'll water now to get this fertilizer to the roots, and then we're going to be good for the rest of the season. This bedding is insulating the ground, so the moisture stays in there and the plants will get enough. Enough talk, let's get to it. One thing you really want to think about is that you shouldn't give your tomatoes too much fertilizer in the beginning. A lot of people that grow tomatoes organically give them a lot of fertilizer right from the beginning, and then they grow super fast in the beginning, but then later in the season the fertilizer is pretty much used up, and then you end up with these crazy skinny tomato plants up on top. So in a sense it is good that if you have a fertilizer where you can that the plant can use gradually throughout the season. Also very important for tomato plants to have both iron and magnesium. Everything turns to dust, everything turns back to soil here on the earth, and it is important that we humans learn to take care of everything. If you think of wild animals, they die at some point, most of the time a very cruel death, but they turn back to soil. Nothing is being taken off the planet, like back to Eden gardener Paul Gauci always says. Nothing is being taken off the surface of the earth. All the minerals and everything stays there. So here you see the bone meal, and here you have the dried and powderized blood. And both of these are organically certified. Another good thing about blood meal is that they say that it can keep deer and stuff away from your fruit trees. You can try to put that. They try to avoid this stuff. Their noses are very sensitive. So that might be something that I should try on my fruit trees, because you know that the bunnies really messed them up. So here we have them, bone meal and blood meal, 2 fertilizers that will work really well combined. You see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows of stuff here right now. We're gonna have to plant a little bit more bell pepper and so on, and cucumbers, but we're gonna divide this so that each plant will get the same amount about. So here you have one of these tomato plants. Now I want to be very careful, because after planting, the tomato will start to set roots all around the stem, and you can tell here that that's what it has started to do already. Actually, that was just something else. But right here, I can tell that the tomato plant is starting to set roots even into this deep beddings here. That is, it smells like soil already. So we want to be careful not to mess too much. I'm just gonna put some of the stuff right here and then later water it into the plant. every plant will get a third of a cup, and we're gonna check now if that is actually way too much or if that is way too little. And this is about 60 grams, a little less. And I would say that's perfect because you got 30 grams of each in it. That's gonna give a good dose to every plant. You could also work this a little bit into the soil, into the material and stuff. Like I said, ideally I could have put some of this into the hole when I was planting, but the thing is that I'm gonna water this so heavy that this is just gonna run down, and that's really how nature does it. Compost material builds on top, and with gravity and the rainwater it gently flows down to the plant. So you can see my calculations were fairly accurate. I have only a little bit left.